Joe, we weren't going to do a cold open for this episode, but I just saw a post. I literally just saw a post. A lot of the times we do little fake 'em ups where we set up scenes that didn't really happen because they're easier to explain than the whole story. This is the whole story. I just saw a post about how a college is going to get rid of history and philosophy as majors that you can take, but you can major now in esports management.
Hell yes. That rules, because the problem with history, I don't know if you're familiar with this, like almost no esports management in that. It's just like none of it.
If I want to make a living playing Fortnite, knowing history gives me nothing. It actually makes me worse at it because I am forced to reflect on the mistakes of the past and how they're being repeated now instead of what I should be doing, which is focusing on no-scopes.
Yeah, the thing is, like, obviously that's dystopian and not good, but also, like, honestly, good call.
Yes!
Like, I'm not really saying that's a poor management choice, because I'm looking at the trends here of just, like, the possible outcomes for just life, and esports are going to play a huge part of it. History will not.
Like, we always joke about how guys who, like, buy Punisher hoodies and Oakleys and get really racist are, like, insanely smarter than people who actually go to college because, like, they are doing the work required to make themselves set up for success in this horrible world. And this is just another example of it.
Yeah.
What I think is really weird, though, is that I'm looking again at this, and I said esports management. I think that means that you're not even playing the Fortnite.
No. You are managing a team of guys in tracksuits, and you're telling them to shoot heads better.
You're like, you take a class that is basically like, how do you keep your clients from saying the N-word? Because they're going to want to. They're all racist. They want to say it so bad. How do you stop them?
Yeah, that's the capstone.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Anime Sickos, the podcast for geniuses, where we take a look at the four pillars of modern misery: anime, gaming, posting, and jobs. I am Tom, an anime sicko.
I am Joe, an aspiring esports manager, and I am an anime sicko.
Joe, you can't get ahead in that industry without a degree. This is gonna be a special episode. I mean, all the episodes are special because we just fucking do what we want every time. Who's gonna stop us? There's no podcast cops
Yet.
Yeah,
There should be for obvious reasons. Like, there's too many of them, and I know we contribute to this problem.
It's true. We're both white boys. This is undeniable. But it's a special episode in that a while ago I asked our listeners for questions, and we have 11 responses from our delightful listeners, and that's enough for us to have a listener Q&A episode, which is what we're going to do today. Joe, are you excited?
I am excited. This is good because I don't know any of these questions. There was a form, and I can't see the submissions that go to, I guess, the Sickos email, which I don't have access to. I asked for it, and you were like, yeah, I'm busy, and I'm like, cool.
No, you have access to the Sicko email. Just I made this on my personal Gmail, so only I can see the responses. And I could probably have found a way to tell you what they were, but it seemed so hard. So I wanted to just keep it a fun surprise. Also, I looked through them. It's not like there was any homework that you could have done to answer them better. And to prove that, let's just stop wasting time and ask our first question. Now, this question comes from Scott Paladin. Scott, thank you for your excellent question. They ask, absent the full set, which two of the four pillars combine to produce the most misery? If you could only equip two, what would the most optimal combo be?
In terms of like maximum psychic damage and feeling unfulfilled and just consuming huge chunks of my daily life and producing no benefits, I'm going to have to give one of those slots to posting.
Of course.
Yeah. Lately, I find myself like being pissed at how much I look at Twitter while looking at Twitter.
Yes.
Like I am incapable of stopping, and it frustrates me. It's like that Futurama episode where it's Slurm.
Yes.
And Fry is like, this is disgusting, as he drags the tub across the floor while he continues to drink. That's posting.
Yeah, I'm with you. Joe, I want to ask you, is the following situation a rare occurrence or something that you guarantee happens every single day of your life, where you're at your computer and you have Twitter up on the browser and you pull out your phone and open up Twitter?
If it wasn't daily, it would be a huge blessing. I would love if it only happened 6 days a week.
That's what I thought. I understand that posting and agree that posting is a miserable pillar. You actually had the poster's delight the other day. You went viral. The best thing that could possibly happen to a post, and I don't mean to I don't mean to speak for you, but can I?
My life is not better, Tom. Is that what you're trying to say? It's
yes,
not.
Yes,
it's fucking not. It's great to see like a notification that it's like 100 followers, and then like just from the icons, I can tell 3 of them are Pepe's. That's fucking good.
But it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But Joe, what other pillar combines with it, crosses the streams to supercharge it? Because I have an idea, but I want to hear what you think.
So at first jump, I thought jobs would be the worst, just being a cog. But if we're really being honest, we're rapidly approaching a point where posting and jobs will become indistinguishable. I think we're converging on that. Because what is answering a bunch of emails that no one gives a shit about other than like tweeting that's not fun? Like that's literally all it is.
Fuck. Good point.
So there's too much overlap there. To really get like the full service paying package, I'm going to probably go with gaming.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. Yeah. God, I was going to say jobs and posting, but fucking you've just ethered me with facts and logic. Those pillars are just the same thing. And yeah, when it comes to just a horrible mine that we force ourselves to go toil in, and the best case scenario is we like unearth a diamond that instantly curses us, gaming and posting are definitely the worst. And I'm just imagining a day spent getting furious at roguelikes and then going on Twitter and getting furious at posts. And 1, that's the worst thing I can imagine doing. And 2, I'm going to do it like 3 times this week.
Yes. The problem I'm currently facing is I'm in between games, which means I'm just sort of like staring at my computer waiting for dopamine to grab me. And then because I'm unable to decide what to play next, or I start something and immediately bail because it's immediately not gripping me, I just then defer to Twitter. So it's this horrible cycle. Like I need gaming to like step in so the posting is less bad, but I know for a fact the gaming is also bad.
God,
like
fuck.
It's gonna grip me, and I'll only be able to think about a game for like 4 days, and then it's done. And then like it has moved through me, and then I'm empty again.
It's like you want to read a book, but instead of reading a book, it's just like your brain just craves lorem ipsum, and you're just like, this is all. This might not be exactly what I want, but I need something.
Kevin said this on the episode, and I told him I was jealous of the fact that whenever he's like I guess I'm bored. He just plays Counter-Strike and it's fine. Like he has no impulse to find a new game. And I'm unbelievably jealous of that because if I had that, I would be looking at Twitter way less.
I think that has planted a seed in my brain that each pillar has an ascended form where you like sort of defeat it and you become the master of it. We will never reach that form, but I think that's something to keep in our heads for the later episode because Kevin has definitely achieved that.
It's like the 4 warlords of the pillar, right? Like they are the final bosses of each of them. We've met one of them. Mm-hmm. His power was unimaginable and foreign and scary. We couldn't even comprehend the way he lives. And I can only imagine if when we meet the posting warlord, we'll just stop doing a podcast because it'll melt our brain.
So yeah, I think that's a pretty open and shut answer. The 2 pillars that produce the worst misery: art, posting, and gaming. Anime is pretty miserable, but I have not really played very many anime games, and also don't post or read posts about anime, which I think is a fucking mercy because I easily could. And as a result, it sort of stands alone and doesn't augment the misery of any other pillars.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, next question. Joe, we got a couple of questions from our buddy Vizsla826. Thank you for your questions. First off, what are some widely loved things that you just fucking hate? Mine are Pulp Fiction and Drive.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, I'll talk about it. I don't explicitly hate it, but like whenever I see Marvel stuff, I am just like completely incapable of amassing interest or appeal into it, which is like doubly frustrating because that's the only thing that matters. So that's one. And I kind of have the same sort of thing with Star Wars at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same sort of thing where it's like, it's not like I hate it, but just like since the new round of Star Wars has spooled up, it has sort of completely weaned me off of it as a property, like, and also like retroactively. Like I now don't give a shit about the originals because I'm just like, it's like fucking whatever. It's fine.
I'm gonna have to go with the Cubs, the baseball team. And this is not me being like, oh, I'm actually a Sox fan. I actually don't care about baseball. The only good baseball game is MLB The Show because it's like, what if baseball was only smacking dingers?
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like really slow and boring. But the reason I have really soured on the Cubs, even following their historic World Series win after like losing for 100 years because of a goat or fucking whatever, it's because I live close to them, which means that whenever things open up again and there's Cubs games, if I leave my house, there is a drunk dad from Naperville who wants to fight me because I'm not adequately pumped about the Cubs playing. And the other thing that I can't stand about them is Wrigleyville always kind of sucked, but now it has been taken over completely by the whims of an awful billionaire family, the Ricketts, who
they love Trump. They love the blood of the poor. They love to drink it, folks. We can't get enough of the blood.
So that sucks because the entire area around Wrigley now looks like a big mall. Like it has no character. It's extremely expensive. It's completely lifeless. Everything that was kind of neat in the area has been nuked. And the other thing that sucks is my buddy Josh has said this and it blew my mind, but he's correct. Every Cubs game is a Trump fundraiser.
Yep. Fuck.
And ever since he said that, I can't decouple the baseball team from the festivities.
There was a time when I was in my youth when I was a Cubs fan because I sort of was indoctrinated into it. And it was in 2003 where I was 13 years old. And they had the big famous run where they were nearly in the World Series. And then they just fucked up so bad and lost a bunch in comical fashion and then were eliminated. And I remember then being just like, hey, fuck sports. Like, I'm done. Like, this sucks. Like, I feel really bad in, like, my everyday life now because of this shit that I invested in for no reason. And man, just divesting any interest in sports whatsoever was such a smart move on my part.
Yeah, I think a really telling example of, like, my feelings about the Cubs is I had a past job where I worked off the blue line. and I would get off the Irving Park Blue Line stop, which, if you're not familiar with Chicago, that is primo stop for people who live in the burbs who jump on the Blue Line, only go to Cubs games, and then they get on a bus to ferry them to the fun baseball park. Every time there's a Cubs game on a full rush hour bus, there's always like some guy with 80 of his huge sons like pushing into the bus and losing his mind at how crowded the bus is, because like everyone is literally getting home from work, and this guy is like, we got a lot of baseball fans here, we gotta move to the back, and there's no room, there's no room. And like the thought that he would be slightly delayed to start like day drinking is like impossible to him. And that's sort of like my feelings towards now the baseball team in general. I think of that guy and the awful Ricketts.
One thing that is widely loved that I fucking hate, and I've spoken about this in the past, is D&D. Like, I hate that game. Like, I think it's so bad. And like, the more that I have sort of reflected on why I dislike D&D and what I dislike in RPGs in general, it's tabletop RPGs to be precise. The more I've come to realize that, like, despite the fact that I have a show where I play RPGs a lot and I really enjoy doing it, I pretty much hate every single thing that RPGs are and do. Rolling dice, I fucking hate that. Reading rules, I hate that. Having to refer to a character sheet, I hate that. Having to stop what we're doing to deal with rules, I hate that. Really, like, anything, I hate it. The best RPGs are one where there's like one rule, and it's like, when you want to be silly, do it. And also, the rules are pretty explicit. Like, you don't have to actually follow this. Like, you can just pretty much do whatever. The reason I like hate D&D so much in particular is because, like, one, it just sucks ass as a game. Like, it's a very boring game that only does one thing right, and it's a thing I would never want to do, which is do tactical combat, because why would I not have a video game do all the math for me?
Yeah, I'll play XCOM and let a computer tell me I fucking missed.
Exactly. But, like, just the fact that it's such a corporate behemoth and that it is, for most people, the beginning and end of the entire genre of the tabletop RPG, and people will just be like, you can do anything in D&D. If you want to have a fun, like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer style monster hunt, you can do that. It's like, and hey, you don't like some of the rules in D&D, you can house rule them or change them. It's like, that's not, you can't just be like, oh, the best sandwich in the world is the ham sandwich, but if you don't like ham, you can take it out and put in turkey. It's like, then why did I fucking spend $50 on a ham book?
You can, if you don't like ham, you can just find a different animal and kill it, and then butcher it, and then put it between two bread. It's fine. It's whatever.
And it's the same sort of thing where, like, you can do anything because you're folks sitting at a table, and no cops are going to come get you if you want to tell a fun story. It's just that every time you have to stop and do the rules are like, well, I really prefer that you were doing something shitty and boring, but I guess we'll make do with this fun thing this one time.
It's funny as, like, a game because, like, the equivalent is if you were like, I think I'm going to get into movies, and then you watch, like, Boondock Saints, and you're like, well, that's cool. I really like movies now. Also, this is the only thing I'm going to watch, and when people talk to me about movies, I'm going to be really confused when they say some shit that isn't Boondock Saints.
It's like, I'd like to watch a romance. Like, well, if you watch Boondock Saints and you think about two people kissing, it's like, I mean, like, Boondock Saints can do whatever you want. It's like, no, it fucking can't. All right. I know there's more things that are widely loved that I hate. I can't think of them right now. Sorry. Great question, though. Next question, also from Vizla826, is favorite Western comics that we've read.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, I'm going to be the basic one. Watchmen's good.
Watchmen's good. I really like Sin City because it's just, like, fucking dumb. Like, it's stylish and dumb. I know Frank Miller's now a huge, like, racist freak who basically wrote a comic about killing people in the Middle East because it's fun.
Yeah.
But Sin City is just a real goofy time. I also really enjoy, and as much as I just said I don't give a shit about Marvel, I am a sucker for the Punisher Max series because The Punisher is like old. That he's like 58 because he was still a Vietnam vet, and it's happening in relatively recent times. So it's just a fun thing where the Punisher is obviously killing like tons of mafia goons and stuff, but he's also like old. So like when he gets shot, he's just like, ah, fuck, that hurts. Also, my arthritis is bad.
Is this also the same one where someone asks him a bunch of like questions and he answers entirely in like murder puns?
No, I don't think so. The Punisher Max series is like.
So wait, which is the one where someone asks him his age and he says 38? Caliber.
Oh, I don't know. I hope that's not the Punisher Max series, because if I consume that, it did not stay.
You sent me this image, and the next one is like, where do you live? And he answers, on the edge.
I don't think thematically that was part of Punisher Max. I hope I'm wrong. But it's a good treat. It's real over the top and violent and dumb. The Punisher's real superpower is that he just has perfect judgment. Like, he's never killed someone that wasn't a criminal. Like, he's never killed someone in the Crossfire. That's actually his ability, because he has a worldview that he doesn't ever have to, like, contend with, because he never makes a mistake in his fucked up vision.
Yeah. It's never like, oh, is there shades of gray here? It's like, no, there would be if I ever fucked up, but I haven't yet.
Yeah, there in the Punisher Max series, there's like a showdown he has with like another huge hired assassin who is Amish. And it's incredible because like Frank Miller is like literally being killed by like just an Amish guy with a hammer. And then the big twist is that the Amish guy, obviously being Amish, should never use technology, and Frank Miller is hard to kill because his skull is very thick. So in a brief moment of weakness, he's like, ah, fuck it, and he goes to grab a shotgun to kill him, but it's in Frank Castle's house, and naturally the shotgun he has on the wall is electrified for some reason.
What?
Yeah, because he's like a paranoid freak that doesn't want people to take his guns. So then the Amish guy loses because he betrayed his Amish values.
It's fucking whips. For me, so yeah, I said Watchmen's good, but like overall, like I've sort of just given up on Cape Comics being good. Like we've mentioned that the Vision limited series was pretty good, but like it was like, again, pretty good. I wouldn't say that it's like great, and I've just spent years being disappointed by, you know, Western sort of like cape and genre comics. Like I remember in college, I tried to read Transmetropolitan. I bought a lot of those. I thought they were really transgressive and cool. And Kevin, our buddy, Kevin Johnson, read them and was like, this is pretty crappy. This is just some author insert saying that he's right all the time. And I'm like, you're so cynical. It's actually like really great. And then I read them like a month later and I'm like, holy shit, Kevin was so right. This sucks ass. Also, Preacher was hyped up and I bought all those and read them. And I'm like, oh, this was just like a mean-spirited and like small series that made me feel dirty. I hate this.
Oh, I dug it because it was kind of gross. I did like that there was a vampire in it and he doesn't have fangs. So when he like sucks blood, it's just like a normal guy biting you. One thing I'll say though is that the guy who draws Preacher, he can't draw any other faces.
He has like 4.
He has like, every dude has like a square jaw, the same eyes, and he switches out the Lego hair. I like his art, but I'm just acknowledging that you're looking at a bunch of heads that look the same.
But like since I'm gonna be a wife guy here, since being married, my wife loves Western like autobiographical indie like diary comics that aren't about superheroes and are just about people living their lives. And fucking, it's stupid as shit that like The Flash outsells like shit like that, because like that is the only sort of like Western comic I've seen that's been like really interesting and something that I'm glad that I read. Just gonna read off some quick titles. Girl Town by Carolyn Nowak. It's just little short stories that are not about superheroes. They fucking whip. The art is incredible. Lisa Hannawalt, who's the art director for BoJack Horseman and the creator of Tuca and Birdie, she has some sort of just like comic collections that are just like journals. Like there's no like plot to them or structure. It's just sort of like this is some shit I drew today. And they're just fascinating, incredible to read. The book Here by Richard McGuire, which is just a book about a single place where in every page turn it's the same location but at a different time, and sometimes on a page there'll be multiple panels and each panel will be a different time, and it just sort of tells the story of this area in space, and it fucking whips, and there's no superheroes, and then there's just shit like
I'm beginning to sense a theme. It's just like, yeah, there's no guys with a cape in this.
It's just like shit that I never would have come across. Like, I'm looking at a title now called Cat Person by Seo Kim, and I don't know who this fucking person is. And all this is just like sketchy pencil sketch diary comics. And motherfucker, they're so interesting and so funny. Like, any Marvel comic that has them quipping about like how much they love Avatar: The Last Airbender is true pandering bullshit, and 100th as funny as this book of someone I've never fucking heard of just drawing that she like has a cat, and isn't that fun? Like, yes, it fucking is.
I have two recommendations. One, The Autumn Lands. It's published by Image Comics. The gist of it is like, do you like wizards, Tom?
Oh shit! Is that the one where they're animal people?
Yeah, yes, it's like animal wizards, and
hell yeah.
they resurrect a champion from the past, and it's just like a naked guy with a knife, like a human.
Yeah, and they're like, what's the deal with this weird fake animal? Why isn't he an animal like us?
Yeah, and he doesn't have any magic. He's just like a guy with a knife, but he's like incredibly violent because it's kind of like the Demolition Man thing where
yes.
Magic has persisted for so long and has allowed society to thrive and basically to have every convenience that no one knows how to like be cruel and fight and actually punch someone. So they bring this naked guy who's just a guy, and he's just a violent freak by standards of the refined age of magic, and it's just really good. Yeah. If you want like a series that has like lots of amazing shots of like a boar wearing a wizard's robe and like chanting why they glow, it's probably the best comic series on the planet.
Mm-hmm. And Joe, I know I said I don't like Cape Comics and they've disappointed me, but you mentioning the Autumn Lands, which I sort of forgotten about, has kickstarted in my brain the other final recommendation I have for this Western comic shit, which is Astro City, written by the same guy as Autumn Lands. And Astro City is just the story of a city where there are superheroes everywhere. And like there's no main character, and I think that's the fucking key, because he can just fill the city out with every single trope. And I've talked in the past how like Western comics, the characters are never allowed to do the thing that they do. Like Spider-Man is never allowed to do Spider-Man stuff because he always has to be like trapped in a computer by like, or some shit. He has to be like, oh, he's mutating into a clone or something, because they have to have some stupid shit going on because like they've already done him doing the normal things. But Astro City just lets the creative team pick a trope from superhero fiction and just do it really, really well with their original characters that they made up precisely for the purpose of doing that trope really, really well. Everything about that character exists for this story, and they do it perfectly. And they're able to like look at this city of superheroes from a bunch of different perspectives. Like there is a Superman who is like omniscient, and he has like one story early on, and the rest of the series he's just sort of in the background, and he's never that important. And there are stories that are just about like the civilians in Astro City who are like, just how do they live in a world where like the laws of physics are constantly being broken and like time magic is always going on. And like there's one fucking quadrant of the city that is just like where all the Halloween stuff happens. It's like where the spooky villains live. And like there's stories about like how do the people who live there deal with like that there are vampires in their neighborhood.
Obviously, we said Watchmen because Alan Moore is pretty good. I also really like Alan Moore's From Hell, which is about Jack the Ripper and like a bunch of like occult stuff surrounding that. I really enjoy that, and I say that with the full acknowledgement that the art from Hell is like indecipherable. It's very like sketchy. A lot of times you look at a panel and you're like, is that a face? Like what is happening? Like. Yeah. Is that guy being murdered or are they having sex? I cannot tell.
I have not read that, but I've seen it, and I know what you're talking about. And actually, speaking of famous series of art that's not that good, this is not actually a recommendation, but it's just like, I read Sandman in college because everyone said it was good, and there's a lot of parts where it sort of pontificates in a way that sort of sounds like it's good writing, but I never got it. I never understood it, and also the art is so bad. It's like, Sandman is known for its ever-changing roster of some of the best comics artists of the 90s. It's like, oh, well, they all fucking suck ass. Like, the only Sandman that I just love without reservation is Sandman Overture, which was the prequel that came out like years after the series was over, because it was illustrated by J.H. Williams III, who is just like one of the best illustrators like ever, and doesn't draw disgusting, sketchy shit like From Hell and Boast of Sandman. All right, next question is from Angela on Twitter at @aQuinton. Angela, thank you for your questions. Joe, this is a pretty interesting one. What are your relationships to fitness and exercise as a method of combating the malaise of the 4 pillars?
So I'm going to answer with the caveat that I'm not doing this that frequently lately for reasons of depression and extra malaise due to the virus and the resulting collapse. So I will run, not like marathon stuff. I've never done a marathon or even a half K, but so I live in Chicago, and my apartment is right by the Lakefront Trail. So I do like running. Just like I can't go like super far. I'm not like a monster marathoner, but like getting outside and running on the trail and like looking at some boats, that kicks ass. That clears my mind. That's one of the few things that like can reset. Of course, Chicago is like a fucking winter diarrhea hellscape for 9 months of the year. So I will go on the treadmill during the colder months, but that doesn't really happen. And also now I can't go on a treadmill because you can't go in anything.
Yeah.
And I also will do like weightlifting stuff, which I never do publicly because it's like baby stuff in the grand scheme of things.
It's so easy to be like, if you're in the gym, people aren't going to judge you. But at the same time, like, the idea of going to the bench press and doing a whittle amount is like the scariest thing that could ever happen.
Yeah, my building has like a little fitness room which has like a weight rack and like some weight machines, and I got off the treadmill one day and I was like, I think I'm gonna lift here. I won't do it back up in my apartment. I'll just do it here. And as I was doing this, there was a guy who was doing the like the shoulder thing where you pull down on the weights, like the standing.
Yeah.
And it was an insane amount of weight. I've never seen that many bars be lifted up. And every time he did a rep, he did like a barbarian yell, like just like, yeah! And I was like, you know what? I don't need to lift right now.
Yeah.
I think that guy's doing enough lifting for both of us.
My relationship with exercise is best summed up by a Colin Space Twinks tweet that I don't have in front of me, but the gist of it is, I always get so fucking pissed when I work out and it actually improves my mental health, because it sure does, but I never want to do it. And whenever I do it and I'm like, oh fuck, it works, and makes me feel worse for all the times I didn't before. And the past year prior to Rona times, I had been going to the gym regularly. And again, like I'm not like a big fitness buff. It really is just like doing the bare minimum. I would go on the treadmill, I'd run like a 5K, I'd do a couple of the machines, not enough to really push me, but just like enough to be like, well, that was kind of hard and I'm tired now, so I'm going to go home. And like that sort of kept me feeling good. But again, since Rona happened, like I don't do that. And like I know that it is a thing that I should be doing, but it's like I've never been able to really like move my human physical body in like the way that I know would be good. Like a couple, 2 or 3 times in my life, I have like been playing a sport of some type and enjoyed it. And just like the amount of exertion that you get out of that is so much more than like just doing these isolated exercises could ever do. And like it just feel like you get the endorphins from like I'm having fun and my whole body is like stinging in the good way from use, to the point where I'm like, this is why people like sports. But just the thing is, I would never be able to do that for like a long time, because if you join a sports team, like 2/3 of those guys are going to be like white supremacists and be like, the white race is truly the best and we need to purify the country. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, you're making
that's
this
bad.
Frisbee game really weird.
Fuck. So yeah, I know I should be doing it. I just don't.
I had the reverse thing of the Colin Space Twinks thing where there was a period in my life where I was like in the best shape of my life. Like I was lifting regularly, I was running regularly, and I was like, this kicks ass because like my brain has never functioned better. Like I feel like my depression's all fixed, all this stuff. And I was like, this is great. I finally did the habit forming that I was supposed to do, and now my brain will work forever. And then I got the worst depression I ever had in my life, and I was like, well, that doesn't work either. That sucks.
All right, next question. What are your time management methods, considering the number of creative things we do outside of work? Time management methods? I don't plan a fucking thing. I just sort of wing it. It's been easier with Rona time because I sort of can't go anywhere, so every hour is this sort of amorphous grab bag where I can pull anything out of it. I don't know. I just fucking try and hope.
I am the fucking king of deciding I'm going to start a new habit that'll help me self-organize and then abandoning that in a week and a half and then starting a new one and then repeating that cycle forever until I die. So I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 30, which is cool. Because I just thought I was like dumb. I couldn't like do shit that everyone seemed to have no issue with. So now that I'm medicated for that, I find I'm a little more organized. But there's also an issue I'm finding, which is now that I'm medicated and I'm like, oh, cool, I can get like calm focus now because my brain is receiving the correct chemicals it should be. Those times when my brain is functioning properly are almost always exclusively used for my office job.
Fuck.
Yeah, that sucks too.
God, fuck.
And I'm not going to be like, well, it's 5 o'clock. I'm going to just pop an Adderall just because to play games.
I mean, for me, I haven't even attempted any sort of organizational method. I just have never done it because I know I'm going to do what you're saying, where I try and I don't stick with it and I give it up. So, like, I've never even attempted it. And so just the only reason that, like, anything I've ever done has come out on time is just because, like, I love to do things correctly. Like, I think that really is the thing. Like, I really want to do a thing the right way. That's sort of like why I liked F-Zero so much, because it's like, hey, this is a really difficult thing. And I'm like, I'm going to fucking learn how to do it the right way. And I'm going to do it. So, like, when I decided that, like, I'm going to start doing podcasts, and it's like, well, I'm just going to do them correctly and have them release at the right time. And that's it. Like, there's no other method. I just do that.
When I first got medicated, it was kind of funny because all of a sudden I started, like, saying things to myself like, wow, what if I don't do this in a shitty, rushed way? Like, it never occurred to me not to do a rushed, panicky job at the last minute.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. It's a good way to do it. All right,
yeah.
We got to get through more questions. This next question is from Rain Clar at Small Witch on Twitter. Thank you for your questions. Do the two of you have any series you disagree on when it comes to sub v dub? I don't know if there's anything that we personally have beefed about. For me, I'm sub almost 100% of the time. I understand that it prevents you from looking at your phone while you watch anime, which I often wish to do. And often I will turn on the dub just to see. And every single time, almost without fail, it's fucking musical theater voice being like, "Oh, Shinsuke, you idiot. You know only a crimson sorcerer can do that." And it's, you know, the musical theater voice where, like, they're talking as though they need the people in the back row to hear every enunciated syllable they're saying. But I'm just like, you're talking into a microphone, you know? And it's like the gruff guy is always like, "That bastard, I can't believe what he did." And
you
it's
mean
like
Steve Blum?
Yeah. It's always fucking musical theater voice doing these big, stupid, shitty performances that are so fucking broad and stupid, and I can't stand it.
Yeah, I tried watching Blue Exorcist, and for whatever reason, like I couldn't. I think I watched it on Crunchyroll, and like it was doing the English track, and like I could not switch it to subs, and I've just fucking bailed. I was like, no, this is bad. It just seemed like everyone recorded didn't know about the show. Like they just went to each individual person's house and was like, hey, can you just read these?
And make sure, make sure that you are saying this like you're playing a precocious 8-year-old in a Broadway play. So it's like, oh wow, I can't believe I'm an exorcist. You're being silly. An exorcist. And it's just like, shut up, talk normal, talk fucking normal.
I do think the Funimation dubs for Dragon Ball are pretty good. And I'm saying that knowing that there's a nostalgia aspect there, but I do think they're pretty good. Like, I think Piccolo's voice being like a weird, low-voiced, gruff guy, and like how Vegeta sounds are how I like view the characters. When I watch like Dragon Ball Super now in the Japanese with the subs, and Goku's voice is the worst shit I've ever heard in my life.
Yep.
It's just like, it is quite literally a woman doing the voice.
A very old lady who is losing her wind.
Yes. And it wouldn't be quite so jarring if I didn't like hear Goku just sound like a normal kind of dumb guy for most of my life. Mm-hmm. And then he just sounds like an old woman.
Yep.
It's a pretty shift thing. But the nice thing about subtitles is that I can't understand Japanese. So if someone's doing like a line read that's like not that great, I probably can't tell.
Yeah. Like I've heard people say that like, oh, that shit you say you criticize the dubs for, they do the same thing with Japanese voice acting where they overact and they over-enunciate and they make it overly theatrical and they hate it too. It's like, yeah, well, I don't fucking know. How would I know? Sounds fine to me.
Yeah.
All right. Next question, Joe. What is the most embarrassing anime or manga merch you have owned or currently still owned? How many wall scrolls do we own collectively?
Oh, that's good. Let me think for a second. So the only manga I physically own is Hellsing. I own a Piccolo action figure that my former roommate bought for me, which is very kind of him.
I will say, ass.
It kicks. He looks good. He's doing what he does in the show, which is stand with his arms crossed while he's no doubt babysitting. I feel like kind of quasi embarrassment anytime like I play a JRPG and it gets like real tropey and obnoxious. Mm-hmm. Like even though I could be alone in my apartment and like a character will be like, "We need to do a bathing suit contest for experience points." I will like look around my apartment to make sure the cops are not there.
I don't own any paraphernalia really. The biggest piece of paraphernalia I own is I got my wife for Christmas, but also for me, a figure of Nezuko from Demon Slayer, where she, you know how she's getting like attacked by the poison Hashira, and in order to not get her head cut off, she like turns little and starts running away and is little and is cute. I have a figure of her in like the Little mode where she's small. Other than that, I did once seriously consider for like a full week, like I had the tab open and I kept looking at it, spending $80 American for a figure of red-haired Shanks putting the straw hat on baby Luffy while he cries.
Yeah, figures are incredibly expensive. Like, embarrassment aside, like, just do cocaine. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I do have something that I wouldn't say I'm embarrassed by, but I think it's within the realm of what we're talking about. Is so I fucking love Dragon Quest slimes.
Yeah.
I just love them, and I have like
they're cute.
They're the best, and I have like various Dragon Quest slimes paraphernalia. I have a whiskey glass that is curved on the bottom, and it's just like the slime's face, and it wobbles. It kicks ass. I have like several very small like slime action figures, like the regular blue slime, the metal slime, and shit like that. There is like that company that sells those. They sell like literally every Dragon Quest monster as a little figurine, and like that is the thing I could definitely go sicko mode on, is getting just a bunch of Dragon Quest monsters for my shelf.
I have an embarrassing story that is sort of applicable to this, and there's no other time I would ever tell it, so I'm going to do it now. Which is when I was in Spain with my wife and her parents, because they live in Spain. They did a genius move, basically. Anyway, we were going around, I think it was Malaga, which is a city on the south of Spain, and we just were walking through, and my wife and I saw a fucking manga store. And we're like, holy shit. And we go in, and all the manga is in Spanish, so there's nothing we can buy. But it was just incredible because, like, all the series that, like, I like and I'm like, I've read a little bit of, I would just look and they had all the volumes. And series that I've heard of, but I've never, found a way to get into them. I'm like, oh, there they all fucking are. Like, they're all here, and I could buy them, and they're cheap because they're little fucking manga volumes instead of crappy trade paperbacks that cost $20. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. And I'm really, like, wow, this store is great. Oh, I'm really excited about this. Imagine there was something like this in America that I could go to. Wow, I would love that. Oh my God, that would really open up, my manga reading. I wouldn't have to pirate so much. And then I look over, and both of my wife's parents are looking at the figures section, and are just sort of like, so you folks like this shit? Because it was exclusively like 2 foot tall, incredibly detailed titty figures.
Your in-laws are like, oh, so you like extracting minerals from the earth and then melting them down to make a big titty maid.
Pretty much. We had to be like, no, we like the comics. I don't think we convinced them.
So I grew up near Orland Park Mall in the southwest suburbs, and I was there a few years ago, and I saw it was like an anime store, but what it had was almost nothing except for foam keyblades from Kingdom Hearts. And just like walking by it made me feel bad. It just like its aura got into me. It made me confront my interests in like a really blatant way.
Yeah.
I didn't go in, to be clear, but yeah.
All right, and this is a beef that Rainclar has with us. Not a question. Well, it is a question, technically. How much do I have to pay you freaks to say Luffy right? It's Luffy, please. What is this Luffy shit?
I can't even say manga right. Like, so what is this Luffy nonsense? I say words wrong all the time, and if they're Japanese, like, how many times have we recorded and then like it's time for me to say a character's name and we have to do 9 takes, and like for you to like feed me it syllable by syllable, and then we speed it up like I'm learning to speak for the first fucking time. It's incredible.
For the Sickos City episode where you're like the hard-boiled PI, you had to say Inuyasha, and that took like 15 tries, and you were like, hold on, let me just write it down phonetically. And I'm like, it already is phonetic. It's Japanese.
I can't even remember how I was saying it wrong.
You were saying Inuyasha.
Yes. Yeah, that sucks.
The real answer to what do you have to do to get us freaks to say Luffy instead of Luffy is not complain about it, because if you tell us that it makes you upset, that makes it funny. And so I'm going to keep doing it. You've actually defeated yourself by asking this question, because you've proven to me the suspicion that I've had all along, which is that saying Luffy is hilarious. And it is. So I'm going to keep doing it.
The other thing you could do is pay for my speech therapy. That would be fine too.
Excellent. All right, let's move on. All right, so next up on the docket is a question from Erica at Radish with 2 Ds and 2 H's on Twitter. Thank you, Erica, for your questions. First off, what's the first anime that you ever saw? So I think it's Dragon Ball Z, am I right?
Yes, I remember like turning on the TV and like an episode of Dragon Ball Z was on. And I gotta say, I was like really way more patient as a kid, because like it was the middle of the Saiyan saga. I didn't know any of these characters. I didn't know what the fuck was happening, but I was like immediately enthralled. Like, I think it was the episode where Nappa punches off Tien's arm, and I was like, what is happening? What the fuck?
You will not receive any exposition for 20 episodes, but...
No, and like, when I think about it, isn't that how like most of us like consumed it originally? Like, you just jumped in at a certain point, and you just sort of figured it out. And it probably wasn't too hard to figure out because every episode started with 10 minutes of explaining what just happened and 10 minutes of what might happen next, and then there's 2 minutes of new animation. Yeah. So, it's pretty much that. But that was a huge one, and then I would just then continue to watch whatever was following that on Toonami, which I think was like either a Gundam show or a Tenchi Muyo episode. Which I didn't really like Tenchi Muyo, but like I didn't know what anime was, or like, so I was like, well, this is the other flavor. There's two things. So I was like, this is fine. It's not as good as the first one, but it's the genre, I guess.
I think the first one I saw sort of chronologically, and I'm not going to consider Pokemon in this because like that was just a normal show for kids our age. That wasn't even an anime. That was just like Pokemon was a show, same as any. And you were required to watch it. But I think the first one I saw chronologically was, like you, Dragon Ball Z. And I remember I watched like 3 or 4 episodes, and I went to school, and there was this kid who I was talking to for whatever reason. I never really talked to him that much. We weren't close. It was unusual that I was talking with him. I think we were grouped up together for something, and he was a little cooler than me. And I was just like, hey, have you heard of the show Dragon Ball Z? Like, I've watched a couple episodes. What do you think of that? And he was like, oh, that show sucks. And I'm like, yes, it does. I agree. And then I never watched it again.
It's amazing how cowardly you can be as a child.
It's like stunning and amazing.
Like in the privacy of your own home, you will not do something because a kid cooler than you who has never thought of you since told you not to do it.
It's true. But like I think the next I watched Yu-Gi-Oh! A bit. That's gonna come up later. Kevin talked about how Cowboy Bebop was like the first anime that I watched, sort of like the whole thing and expecting to get weeb enjoyment out of it. But I do have to say that the anime that sort of opened my third eye has been trying to open for years, and that finally like reached its hands in and wrenched the lids open and turned me into a sicko was when you and our buddy Creston got me to watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I think that's when I was just like, oh, anime is actually the best, and all other media sucks ass.
Yes, yeah, you shotgun that. And that probably planted the seed for this whole fucking project.
It really did. All right. Next question. Have either of you read Ready Player One? It's the worst book I've ever read and will never get tired of people eviscerating it. I personally haven't, but I have read a lot of people sharing clips and talking about how much it sucks. And I have read Ernest Cline's extremely horny poem about how he wants to watch porn.
No, I'm not familiar with that. I know he did a bunch of like quote unquote slam poetry about like the fucking helicopter from Airwolf and just like real weird nerd shit. I have read parts of Ready Player One. So I like used to tutor like a lot on the side, and like in the summer it was just like, well, this is what, my son or daughter is reading, just like, read it with them and all that good stuff. And for a period they were reading Ready Player One, and I was like agog at how lazy and shitty it was. Just like just show pictures of like Pac-Man. Don't even write any words. Just be like, remember the maze from Pac-Man? Isn't that neat? And
remember
then just
that?
You remember that? Remember that? The one thing I thought was interesting about the book is that the city is like a bunch of stacked, fucked up RVs, and school is done completely in virtual reality.
That's happening now. That's real.
That's happening now. Like the dystopian aspect of it was pretty good. I thought that was kind of interesting, but just the absolute audacious fan service was just disgusting to me. Even as someone who like has tons of overlap with a lot of these interests and stuff, it was just like excessive. It was like it was this weird experience of reading something that is written for you, Like you, like this is for you. Like you understand everything that's going here. Like there is a perfect match between your psyche, your consumption, and this text. And then just fucking hating it.
Like, we do Shuffle Quest, which is about a lot of mashing up of pop culture stuff, but the twist is with that is that we, like, when we bring up, like, hey, you remember Sonic? The implication isn't, like, you're a genius for remembering Sonic. It's like, Sonic sucks. Remember how much it sucks? It's dumb.
I remember reading about the movie before it came out, and there was an interview with Spielberg, and this quote haunts me to this day. He was like, I want people when they watch this movie and like something gets named that they know, I want them to cheer and go like, I know that.
This motherfucker won Oscars.
Yes, it was just like the darkest thing I've ever read. Just like just a bunch of people in a theater just clapping
because they know something.
They recognized a shape in a face. It's just really grim shit.
You think that's the grimmest thing? I'm going to read you the poem Nerd Porn Auteur by Ernest Cline, or at least as much as I can get through. Now, Joe, just to give you a gist, this is the most deeply misogynist thing you'll ever hear. And it's written with the thought that it will make everyone hearing it think that Ernest Cline is a big-time feminist. He is writing this to get applause for being an ally, but just wait till you fucking hear it. Okay, quote, I've noticed that there don't seem to be many porno movies that are made for guys like me.
Oh my God, I remember this. Keep going. I just had a horrible flashback.
All the porn I've come across was targeted at beer-swilling, sports bar-dwelling alpha males. Men who like their women stupid and submissive. Men who can only get it up for monosyllabic, cock-hungry nymphos with gargantuan breasts and a 3-word vocabulary. He really hates all those women. Adult films are populated with these collagen-injected liposuction women, many of whom have resorted to surgery and self-mutilation in an attempt to look the way that they have been told to look. Yeah, he's basically saying any woman who said plastic surgery is evil and bad. And aren't I a feminist for saying that? These aren't real women. Turf shit.
Why is he taking the issue of jacking off and making it a nerd versus jocks issue? This is disgusting.
The thing that sucks is later on, like, because it's disgusting and too horny and just like, don't say it. But he sort of explains it later on. He says, I'm not against pornography. I mean, I'm a guy. And guys need porn. Fact. Like a preacher needs pain, like a needle needs a vein. Guys need porn. Really? Like, huh? Yeah.
It needs a strong word there.
You think so? God. He sucks ass. I hate that. All right, we can't get too much. We got to move on from that. Another question from Erica. Tom won't give Naruto a chance even though it's iconic. Fucking wrong-o, I'm reading the manga now, and it's fine. Moving on, she asks, we have never even mentioned Yu-Gi-Oh!, which personally I believe falls into the so bad it's good category. That's actually not true. We have talked about Yu-Gi-Oh! At least twice on this show, but who's counting? Continuing on, the question gets deeper. A challenge. Please watch the first 3 Yu-Gi-Oh! 5DS episodes. The world is now a totalitarian regime, and also they play cards while riding motorcycles now. The characters go to prison, and you can only escape by dueling. The most popular motorcycle duelist is a himbo with a Cockney accent.
Oh, this is good. This sounds like straight trash that'll make my brain stop.
This is the dopest shit in the world, and I really want to see it. I watched the original Yu-Gi-Oh! With Yugi, like the actual Yugi, and it rules, and it's very stupid.
Yeah, you described it as like an improv game where like you go to hell.
Yeah. The beginning of the series, the writers and animators don't know the rules of the card game, so they just sort of make it up. And as a result, like, it makes Duel Monsters, the card game they play, seem less like a card game and more like, as I say, an improv game where the winner
like a battle of wills.
Yeah, the winner is the person who can think of actually the rules are this, and it's so audacious that the opponent can't think of a way to top it in time. Like, there's one point where, like, the villain has a flying castle that has, like, a ring, like a hover ring around it, and the castle is, like, generating a field of darkness that is preventing Yugi's monsters from seeing anything. Like, the monsters literally have to see with their eyes, even though it's a card game. But there's also, like, a force field that's protecting the castle so that he can't attack the castle. And then Yugi decides to play a turtle that has a catapult on its back, and he sticks a knight with a lance into the catapult, and he shoots it at the castle, and the guy's like, you can't kill the castle because it has a force field, so that was stupid. And Yugi was like, that would be what happened, but I had my knight aim for the hover ring instead of the castle. And he's like, what? The hover ring? And then it breaks and the castle starts falling, and all of the monsters are also in this force field, so they're directly below the falling castle and can't get out, and they're like trying to get through the force field, and the castle smooshes them. And I guarantee you that there can never be a game where there are fucking rules that allow that to happen. But it just happened in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, but imagine if they also had motorcycles. Also, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been going on for so long now. So the shit they're probably doing in the Nintendo 3DS show, whatever it's called, is probably so off the wall. It's going to make the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Seem like baby shit. It's going to seem very grounded by comparison.
Like, I know that I watched one episode of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Spinoff. I don't think it was this one that's being mentioned, but I know that it was about a character who was going to fucking card game high school, where it was literally, you have to go and duel of like an entrance exam proctor to see if you're good enough at cards to go to a school where all they teach you is cards. It was really dumb. I didn't keep watching it. I'll watch this one with the fucking motorcycles, though.
I typed Yu-Gi-Oh! Into like my manga app once, and I was just completely blown away by how many fucking versions there are.
I read a little bit of the original, and people talk about this a lot, and it's sort of like old hat at this point, but it's worth bringing up that, like, at the beginning, they don't play cards. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just like
the Punisher, right?
Yeah, yes. He's a weird, like, cruel asshole who will murder criminals by, like, playing a game. And the games are always just like, take a card. If it's red, I die. If it's black, you die. And then they pick a black card, and, like, the bad guy explodes. And he's like, I'm the king of games. And it's like, that wasn't really a game, but okay.
And then it went on long enough, and they were like, oh, we got to sell some things. Let's fit a card game in here.
Yeah. Also, like, in the show, Kaiba is, like, an asshole rival, but, like, grudging friend. They all respect each other, but Kaiba pretends to hate them. And it's a nice dynamic, and I really enjoy it. In the original anime, Kaiba is just like, I would love to kill Yugi. And he, like, traps him in a chair where, like, a big swinging blade is going to come down and cut his head off. And Yugi needs to, like, figure out how to stop him. It's like, he's like a straight up murderer in the manga. It rules. This is from Erica Dreisbach, our mutual homie, Gesto Mode goer, and Sicko fan. Her husband, Vlad, asks, can we talk about the World of Warcraft pandemic of 2005? This was a thing where there was a weird, like, debuff that a boss could give you that, like, was poison. And
there was, like, a raid debuff where, like, the gimmick was if you got it and then, like, teleported back to one of the towns, you could basically spread it to everyone because it was supposed to be like a fight mechanic with like a virus. But if you just teleported back home, you could just like kill everyone. Like you come back from the dungeon, you're like, hey everyone, here's this horrible virus. It would wipe out whole towns. And there'd be skeletons everywhere. I remember that being annoying because I never did that like raid encounter with it, but there was just like this other thing that would ruin my day. Like I'd log on and be like, well, I have this fucking virus. Oh, I'm dead. That sucks. But it's funny that you asked that question because at that time, I remember this very vividly. I was, 13 at this point. I was in a guild where the guild masters wife was cheating on him with someone else in the guild.
Oh!
Yeah, it was fucking amazing. Because, again, I was 14. I didn't, like, know anything. And, like, this grown man was, like, you know, like, whispering. Whispering is, like, the private message. And he was, like, telling me about, like, what he was going through.
Oh my
like,
God.
Seeking support. And I'm like, dang, dude. Like, I never admitted I was 14. 'Cause I never did. But it was just, like, this guy is talking to me, a kid who should probably be doing his homework, about how his wife is fucking the rogue in the group. It was incredible. And also, that's when I realized that, like, you can have an online group for a game that exceeds 15 people without it getting fucked up by, like, some weird drama deal.
Yep. So we got enough time for one final question just to get through really quickly before we're done. Again, thank you to everyone who asked questions, and all the ones we didn't get to, we will get to in the future. This question is from Aaron, and Aaron asks, if you can read Infinite Jest, you can damn well watch Ava without boo-hooing about it. Yeah, I can, and yet I choose not to. Isn't that weird? Anyway, thanks for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, an Anime Sicko.
Yeah, Tom has a chimp's brain. He's like an ape who went to college. I am Joe, an Anime Sicko.
Thanks for listening and submitting fun questions. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, a sicko. You can follow me on Twitter at TomHarrison19. Joe is also a sicko. You can follow him on Twitter at ShariaUncle. You can follow Anime Sickos on Twitter at Anime Sickos, or email us at animesickos@gmail.com. Please leave us a review or something. I don't know. Tell a friend. Anyway, until next time, bye.